ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the latest gaming news with your host, Gaming Junkie. The Dross was swiftly cancelled after Season 1 of this news program, so there's nothing but pure gaming-related meatiness. It is all about that electronic good stuff as we dive deep into all that's new in the various interactive virtual worlds. To start out with, the Netflix live-action series of Resident Evil has had an update. Despite the initial skepticism, the show has gone on to receive widespread support and prove very faithful to the game. Netflix has finally shed its reputation of terrible adaptations and all is right with the world. Obviously, I'm joking. The thing was cancelled after a single season. Who could have seen that coming? You mean fans of Resident Evil really don't care for your creative differences? You mean a new audience you're catering to likely isn't going to care about Resident Evil in general? Honestly, it seems as though Netflix is determined to keep their bad reputation about adaptations that couldn't care less about IP integrity. If you want creative freedom and don't want expectations, then you could always just make a new IP. If it can't stand on its own, the market has spoken. They love to emphasize how much they think the fans are entitled for expecting a product to their expectations, but you know what I consider true entitlement? Expecting people to give their money and time towards something that's making virtually no effort to cater to them or entertain them in any way. In the internet age, everything is competing for people's attention. You know, kind of like how I am right now, and I appreciate the few who are choosing to watch me right now. You guys are the real MVPs of my channel. You could be watching something else, but you chose to watch me, and I thank you so much for it. Anyway, I wonder if these companies will ever learn that flipping fans of these IPs the bird isn't going to make your creative writing any better, it's only going to erode faith in those IPs. It is downright corrosive, and it will ruin you in the long run without some course correction. In other news, the former director of Arcane Studios' Prey, Raphael, throws Bethesda completely under the bus. He notes that he didn't want to call it Prey because it was so different a game from the 2006 Prey, but was forced into it. He actually called it a kick in the face and insists that it was never something he wanted to do. He even thinks it backfired because of it due to 2006 Prey fans being disappointed once they actually played the game, and yeah, I can kinda see that. As if Bethesda needed another kick to the ribs when it comes to their reputation, or should I say, a kick to the head. All the blunders they made with Fallout 76, both in the game itself and various merchandise, already did a pretty good job thoroughly ruining their reputation. I know this is slightly off topic, but this kind of reminds me of what happened to a medical comedy show called Scrubs. How instead of calling it Scrubs Medical School, the network forced what's clearly a spin-off to be labeled the 9th season of the original show. It was focused on a completely new cast of characters, so it was scorned for it. Had it just been called a spin-off, it might have had a chance to flourish in my opinion. Instead, far too many fans of Scrubs still consider the show truly ending at Season 8. The point I'm trying to make here is that you might be able to trick some people, but this scorched earth policy will leave you burned in the end. The same goes for slapping an existing IP over your shoddy writing, by the way. It's not going to work for long. And so there's going to be a shutdown of Facebook Gaming's mobile app. Contrary to what you might be thinking, Facebook Gaming as a whole is not shutting down quite yet. While video hosting can be an expensive and risky venture, Zuckerberg probably has enough money to pull it off, at least for now. Facebook app actually has a gaming section it'll be available in, so it isn't even really going away from your phone. Really, it should be more like the app is getting absorbed into the main Facebook app if you think about it. While I'm not sure how I really feel about Facebook Gaming as a collective whole, I'm glad it's still here because it provides more of that sweet, sweet competition. Honestly, between you and me, between YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook Gaming, I think Twitch is still the worst by a sizable margin. Rest assured, I am not just saying that out of some blind loyalty towards YouTube, because I'll admit they have some problems too. I just happen to think they pale in comparison with Twitch's problems, but that's a whole nother rant for a whole nother day. Getting back on topic, even if Facebook Gaming has failed as a standalone app, time will only tell how it does as a collective whole. And so apparently there was a rumor of Amazon attempting to acquire EA of all things. The reason I say was is because as of right now at least, it doesn't seem to be true. Given Microsoft is on their way to getting Activision Blizzard while also having ZeniMax and Sony has Bungie, I can somewhat see why people might think that. EA plans to stay independent though and presumably coming up with new ways to squeeze people with loot boxes and the like. Interestingly enough though, EA's shares actually surged when CNBC reported on the rumor. Now, if I was a conspiracy kind of person, I'd think it was real interesting that EA benefits from this rumor spreading. Or hey, maybe they just want to keep it under wraps and it might actually happen. Am I saying you should bet your life savings on it? No, don't be insane. You really shouldn't be gambling with what you aren't prepared to lose like that. So yeah, right now it doesn't seem to have any teeth behind it. I just thought this was an interesting story. Between the 26th and the 29th though, EA's stock plummeted. My guess is they realized that this might just be a rumor and might not be something you should put all your faith behind. Whether it ends up being true or not, sometimes a rumor is just a rumor and you should take it with a big old grain of salt. So for those of you who do not own a Steam Deck, like the host of this news program talking to you right now, you too may soon experience some of the feeling of it. Valve announced that they're going to be applying the Steam UI to big picture mode, at least in stages over time. It's more catered to a sort of controller on the couch kind of playstyle, so it probably won't replace the default UI if you're rocking a mouse and keyboard, but it still looks pretty nice. You can tell it's inspired more by the kinds of UIs seen in game consoles, which is handy for those who'd like to play it that way. It's always good to cater to more different kinds of playstyles, and if nothing else, I don't think it can be argued that it's aesthetically appealing. On the Steam Deck sides of things, Game Radar actually mentions that Valve is also making efforts towards making it more dock-friendly with displays. Though delayed, there's apparently an official docking system in the works too. As if it wasn't already considered a Switch killer, even though it probably won't be because this is Nintendo we're talking about, this'll certainly make it easier to compare to. I myself would really not mind getting a Steam Deck someday, but I'm not in any rush right now. And so Nintendo has joined Microsoft in making a statement that they will not be increasing the price of their console. This makes Sony the only one doing so, having already raised the price in Canada, Europe, the UK, Mexico, and Australia. Japan will also be getting a PS5 price hike in the 15th of September, as if people in Japan needed another reason to avoid the PS5. The reason I say this is that Sony seems to have a grudge against Japanese anime-style games as of late, being extra scrutinizing with censoring content. Of course, this isn't limited to sexual themes and the like, considering Doki Doki Literature Club Plus literally had depictions of blood censored. Given how many games in their systems have far more explicit violence and Devil May Cry 5 being patched in non-European regions to remove the butt censor, it shows the clear double standard. The Last of Us Part 2 even got away with a certain main female character taking it from behind, if you know what I mean. Add that to the price hike and it makes the PS5 increasingly hard to justify getting unless it has exclusives you absolutely have to get. Given the increasing number of PC ports though, that's becoming less and less of a thing. Admittedly, this next news story is a bit on the late side, but I was specifically requested for this one. Gamescon 2022 went through recently, and if I had to pick a winner for personal preference, it would be Hogwarts Legacy. Say what you will about it, it looks like it has a ton of potential around it. High on Life is also pretty amusing, especially because they make it pretty clear that the creator of Rick and Morty is behind it. The guy straight up uses his Morty voice and basically an Australian version of his Rick voice for the two basic weapons used in the fight. The Callisto Protocol doesn't look half bad either. It actually gave me a bit of a Dead Space vibe at first, right until the gravity gun looking thing that the main character used to throw some monstrous enemies into a meat grinder. There's also a Sonic game in the works, but man, the 3D ones can be a bit on the hit and miss side, so we'll have to see how that goes. The new Tales from the Borderlands would probably interest me more if it actually showed any of the original cast, but as of right now, it's not the most exciting for me. I'll check it out for sure, but it definitely doesn't have anything in The Wolf Among Us 2 right now in terms of hype. It's also kinda neat that there's a Dead Island 2, but the trailer doesn't really say a whole lot about the game itself. So yeah, all around I'd have to give it to Hogwarts Legacy, High on Life, and the Callisto Protocol as the standouts this year. If you disagree with me, then feel free to tell me your favorites in the comments below. Last but certainly not least, Toy Story can now say it has something in common with PT. By that I mean someone actually recreated it in Halo Infinite's Forge. Most notably, there are boxes for you to push over as well as part of a Hot Wheels track for you to drive your Warthog on. I can really appreciate the attention to detail too, like a Mr. Potato Head as well as the little green army men. Red Nomster, the lad who's working on this, seems to be a real fan of Forge, having made things like an underwater experience and working on a Minecraft village. This is in addition to a hyper-realistic room also being worked on by the same person. I have to give it to Red, this is a very impressive showcasing of the Forge editor and it kind of makes me want to look into it sometime. It actually kind of reminds me of a recreation of Half-Life 2's Route Canal and Doom 2016's Snap Map. It's always great to see what kind of creative things people can make in map editors, hence why it disappoints me so greatly that Doom Eternal still lacks one of any kind. My saltiness aside on id Software seemingly turning their backs on the kind of fan-created content that's been keeping Doom alive all these years, I salute Red Nomster. Here's hoping you go on to make more amazing things in Forge, or maybe with some kind of other editor should you feel so inclined. And as always, straight out of the oven of Games Radar, it's time for the latest batch of release dates. The 6th has Circus Electric for the 6 major platforms, Biomutant for PS5 and Series X, and Disney Dreamlight Valley for the old band of 4. The 7th just has Kaichu the Kaiju Dating Sim for the 6 major platforms. The 8th starts with Blockum, Hyperviolent, Rift Sweepers, and Road Warden for PC. It ends with Steel Rising for PC, PS5, and Series X, while the 9th begins with Betrayal at Club Low for PC. Finally, the 9th ends with NBA 2K23 for PlayStation and Xbox, as well as Splatoon 3 for Switch, arguably the big release of the week. There is a good amount of freebies this week, and just 3 of them in Epic specifically. The first is Armadillo Bundle for Knockout City, a few goodies for that game. The second is Shadow of the Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. The third is Submerged Hidden Depths. In addition, the original Mafia game is free to claim on Steam until the 5th. Enjoy your free gains, my friends, enjoy your free gains. And that concludes the news broadcast. As always, I hope you found it entertaining and informative. If you good people want more content, I Let's Play every single day at high noon, live stream Mondays and Thursdays unless otherwise specified at 4:30 p.m., and I do news videos like this one every Friday at 6 p.m. All in Eastern Standard Time, of course. If you're a real junkie for all things gaming like I am, then feel free to hit that subscribe and bell icon to get your next fix. A like and a comment are always appreciated for that engagement, but I just hope you genuinely enjoyed yourself, and that is it for now. Thank you so much for tuning in with me. Spread this video around like the number of bad decisions on Bethesda's part as of late, and I will see you next time. Capitalize on life, peace out, have a good one, and I'll see you next time.